Everyone in the Crest Pack saw Sheila as weak, a shadow wolf devoid of strength. They were wrong. Deep within her, a primeval power lay coiled and dormant, a sleeping giant waiting for betrayal's sharp sting to finally awaken, promising not just her own epic transformation, but the salvation of her shattered world. If you're ready for a romance where an underdog's weakness transforms into earth-shattering power, then smash that like button right now, subscribe to join our pack of listeners, and let us know in the comments where you're joining us from. The crisp morning air of the Crest Pack territory usually brought Sheila little comfort. Each breath felt thin, inadequate, just like her own presence among the strong, swift wolves who moved through the ancient forest with effortless grace. She was a hunter, technically, but her kills were modest, her pace slower, her senses never quite as sharp as the others. Her wolf, too, felt muted, a faint whisper where others roared. Dean, the pack's formidable beta, was the first to voice the unspoken truth, his disdain a cutting edge. "Sheila's wolf is barely a shadow," he'd sneer, his dark eyes sweeping over her with contempt. "A liability, not a warrior." His words, sharp as stone shards, had carved a permanent wound, solidifying her place at the very bottom of the pack hierarchy. Even Mason, the pack's powerful alpha, seemed to see through her, his intense gaze always bypassing her, searching for the strength she simply didn't possess. Her days were spent in quiet solitude, tending to the pack's aging, sick, and injured wolves, a task often relegated to those deemed less useful for hunting or defense. It was in this quiet work, away from the judging eyes, that she found a small measure of peace, a purpose that didn't demand the brute strength she lacked. Today, the scent of fresh pine and damp earth filled the air as she ventured deeper than usual into the old forest, searching for rare moon petal, an herb known for its potent healing properties, particularly useful for easing the agitated shifts of the younger wolves. The forest shifted abruptly as she crossed an invisible boundary, the air growing heavy, charged with an ancient primal energy. The trees here were older, their roots gnarled like sleeping giants, their branches intertwined, forming a dense canopy that barely allowed the sunlight to penetrate. A shiver not of cold, but of raw power, traced its way up her spine. This was the forbidden heart of Crest territory, a place whispered about in legends, a place even the strongest wolves avoided. Yet, drawn by an inexplicable pull, Sheila pressed on. Then she saw it. Not a pack marker, but a fissure in the very earth, a jagged crack in the forest floor that emitted a faint, unearthly hum. Curiosity, a dangerous companion, urged her forward. She peered into the darkness, a strange, ethereal light pulsing from the depths. It was the source of the primal energy, of the oppressive silence that now pressed in on her. As she knelt, the ground trembled violently, the fissure widening with a guttural groan that seemed to tear through the earth itself. Sheila cried out, stumbling back as a blinding, emerald light erupted from the chasm, pulsating with raw, untamed magic. She instinctively shielded her eyes, her weak wolf whimpering deep within her. When the light faded, a colossal figure emerged from the chasm, an impossible being that seemed woven from shadow and raw power. It was a wolf, but unlike any she had ever seen. Its fur was the color of midnight, sleek and powerful, yet riddled with patches of scarred, pale skin. Its eyes, though, were the true horror, a swirling vortex of emerald green, clouded with torment and primal fury. It wasn't just a wolf, it was a beast, its immense body writhing, twitching, battling an unseen force. It was magnificent, terrifying, and profoundly, heartbreakingly broken. Sheila, frozen in fear, could only watch as the beast thrashed, slamming its massive head against the ancient trees, tearing at its own scarred flank with agonizing whimpers. This was no ordinary feral wolf. This was a creature consumed by unimaginable pain, a raw nerve of suffering made flesh. It was like looking into a distorted mirror, seeing a reflection of her own internal struggles, amplified to a monstrous scale. A low, guttural moan ripped from the beast's throat, and something in Sheila snapped. Her fear, a lifelong companion, receded, replaced by a surge of profound, inexplicable empathy. This wasn't a threat, it was a soul in agony. She approached cautiously, speaking in the soft, soothing tone she used with injured pups. "Easy, boy," she murmured, her voice a fragile ribbon in the oppressive silence. "I won't hurt you. Let me help." The beast froze, its emerald eyes, dulled by torment, slowly focusing on her. It was a terrifying gaze, devoid of recognition, yet filled with a primal, desperate anguish that resonated deep within her. It was the same longing she felt, the same silent plea for understanding. She extended a trembling hand, palm open, offering peace. The beast snarled, a warning rumble in its chest, its massive head twitching, its eyes flickering with a primal uncertainty. But it didn't lunge. It watched her, every muscle coiled, every scarred patch of fur bristling with unseen agony. "I know you're hurting," Sheila whispered, a tear tracing a path down her cheek. "I understand. Let me help carry it for a while." She remembered the forgotten moon petal in her satchel, its tiny leaves a beacon of hope. Taking a deep breath, she moved closer, kneeling before the suffering beast, and began to apply the cool, crushed leaves to the festering wounds on its flank. The beast convulsed, a guttural shriek of pure, unadulterated torment tearing from its throat. It thrashed, its massive head throwing back, not at her, but at the sky, its emerald eyes suddenly filled with tears, glistening in the faint light. In that moment she saw it, a human expression of agony, clear as day, etched onto a beast's face. He was in so much pain. He was suffering. He collapsed then, whimpering, his massive body trembling. Sheila stared, her own heart aching. He wasn't just a beast. He was a king trapped inside one. That's why his torment was so profound. It was a human soul caged in a monstrous body. Her resolve hardened. She would help him. She had to. As Sheila continued to apply the moon petal, a low rumble, surprisingly soft and deep, vibrated through the beast's chest. It wasn't a growl, but a sound of pure contentment. Her touch was so gentle, so warm. A powerful, almost electric jolt passed between them. In the span of a breath, Sheila's mind was flooded, not with a full memory, but a flash, vivid and startling. She saw a man's face, strong, kind, laughter lines crinkling around those same emerald eyes. His lips moved, speaking a name she couldn't quite hear, but she felt it. A whisper. "Mason." The beast nudged her hand with its nose, its massive body relaxing completely against hers. Desire, raw and untamed, pulled low in her belly. She felt it clear as day. This connection wasn't just about taming a beast. It was about something ancient, something powerful. A true mate bond. The realization, sharp as a hunter's claw, ripped through her. Mason. The alpha she had always felt invisible to, the powerful wolf whose gaze had always passed her by, was this broken, tormented beast. He was her fated mate, cursed and hidden. Suddenly, a harsh, blaring sound ripped through the quiet forest. A horn, not the mournful howl of a lone wolf, but a structured, powerful blast, followed by another and another. Dean! He was here. He must have sensed the surge of power, the shift in the ancient magic. Outside, beyond the deep forest, she saw movement. Shadows danced between them. Tiny figures, human and wolf, their banners snapping in the wind, cut a dark line across the pristine, snow-covered landscape. A shiver of dread went through Sheila. This wasn't a rescue. This was an invasion. Dean was here to finish what he started, to ensure Mason remained cursed, to solidify his own stolen power. Her heart pounded, a frantic drum against her ribs. Mason, still in his cursed beast form, let out a low, vibrating growl, a rumble of ancient warning. His emerald eyes, moments before filled with contentment, now blazed with a savage ferocity Sheila hadn't seen since her arrival. He positioned his massive body between her and the sound of the approaching enemy, a silent, powerful shield. He was protecting her. It wasn't just instinct. It was him. "Dean," Sheila whispered, the name a bitter taste in her mouth. She could almost hear his sneering voice, the one that had dismissed her so easily. He would see her as a pawn, a nothing. But now she was something more. She was connected to this beast, this king. This terrifying truth was both a burden and a strange source of power. Maybe it was fate that she, the forgotten one, would face the usurper. The rhythmic thud of hooves grew louder, closer. Dean's wolves were fast. They were here. Their intention was clear. They weren't coming for peace. They weren't coming for conquest. And she and Mason were in the way. Her immediate goal shifted from tending to the beast to preparing for battle. The stakes were no longer just her survival, but Mason's very existence. She had to fight. She had to defend this broken mate, this true alpha, because he was now a part of her story. His emerald eyes, filled with protective rage, had sparked something powerful inside her. Mason. The name echoed in her mind, a quiet strength. Her immediate goal was to defend the sacred grove, to buy them time. This way, she urged, tugging at a piece of gnarled root that concealed a narrow, winding passage beneath the ancient grove. Her hands, once fumbling with herbs, now moved with a purpose she'd never known. Mason, despite his beastly form, seemed to understand. He followed, his immense body surprisingly agile, squeezing through passages no normal wolf could navigate. He moved like a shadow, surprisingly quiet for his size. This was the strength of a true alpha, even one battling a curse. They barricaded the passages with heavy stones, pushed ancient fallen logs in front of strategic doorways. Each thud of stone echoed her resolve. Her mind, now flooded with the primal connection to her mate, felt sharper, clearer than ever before. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was fighting. She was leading. A surge of power, unfamiliar yet exhilarating, coursed through her veins. She was reclaiming herself not just for her own sake, but for Mason, for the pack. Meanwhile, the sounds of battle grew louder. The first of Dean's wolves were at the edge of the sacred grove, their growls a hungry chorus. Sheila risked a glance from a hidden crevice. She saw Dean himself mounted on a massive black wolf, surveying the cursed grove with a cruel, calculating gaze. He was a picture of cold ambition. "He wants you," she whispered to Mason, placing a hand on his massive shoulder. His fur, thick and warm beneath her palm, felt like an anchor. He let out a low, vibrating growl, a promise of violence for anyone who dared harm her. Sheila felt it clear as day. They were in this together. The first wave of Dean's soldiers breached the grove, a snarl of dark fur and flashing claws. The air thickened with the scent of fear and fresh blood. Sheila moved on instinct, dodging a lunging guard. She was quick, nimble, her movements fueled by a desperate need to protect Mason. But then a soldier, faster than the others, broke through Mason's defense. He lunged for Sheila, his knife glinting. Time stood still. Sheila cried out. Before she could move, Mason reacted. He moved like a blur, a furious dark storm. He slammed into the soldier, a thunderous roar tearing from his throat. The guard flew backward, hitting the ancient tree with a sickening crack. Mason stood over him, his massive body trembling with controlled rage, shielding her completely. His emerald eyes blazed, not with wild madness, but with a primal, possessive fire. "Mine!" The unspoken word hung in the air between them. The tension broke, the sheer raw power radiating from him, focused entirely on her protection, overwhelmed her. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought it might burst. With his scent in the air, a wild mix of ancient forest, primal power, and something uniquely him, she reached out. Her hand found the coarse fur of his muzzle. She cupped his enormous head. He leaned into her touch, a soft purr rumbling deep in his chest. It was a sound of absolute trust, of desire. The space between them burned. Her breath caught. This wasn't just gratitude. This was a connection that transcended words, a raw, untamed passion that ignited a fire deep in her belly. He wasn't just a beast she was healing. He was a creature of profound feeling, capable of fierce protection and tender surrender. And she was drawn to every broken, beautiful part of him. Their lips met. It was clumsy, desperate, tasting of fear and something far older than memory. It was primal. It was profound. It was the awakening of a love she hadn't known she possessed, blazing to life. The soft sounds of their ragged breathing filled the air in the quiet that followed. Their desperate kiss, a raw testament to their growing bond, left Sheila shaken. But the quiet was short-lived. Dean, it seemed, was growing impatient. His voice boomed through the grove, amplified by dark magic. "Sheila, surrender now. Give yourself to your true alpha. That thing cannot protect you. He is broken, just like your pathetic pack." His words were meant to sting. They did. They played on her deepest fear, her perceived weakness, her years of inadequacy. But instead of breaking her, they ignited a fierce defiance. She wasn't broken. She had found a connection. And Mason, he was far from useless. As the gloom darkened, Dean's forces began a new, more aggressive push. They targeted the section of the grove where Sheila and Mason were hiding. They knew she was here. Dean's voice, closer now, hissed, "Come out, little Sheila. Don't you remember your place? Or did that beast finally eat your last useful thought? Weakest wolf." The words hit her like a physical blow. Her mind spun, suddenly clearer than ever before. It was another whisper from her forgotten past, stronger than Mason had been. Her weakness, her uselessness. It was all a lie, a tool used by Dean to keep her suppressed, to ensure Mason remained cursed. He had subtly undermined her, slowly chipped away at her self-worth, making her believe the pack's disdain was justified. Dean had manipulated her life, slowly and methodically twisting her potential into perceived failure. A dizzying surge of conflicting emotions, confusion, fear, but also a deep, almost instinctual recognition flooded her. As though fate whispered, her wolf pressed forward. What had she forgotten? What had Dean stolen from her? A new, desperate urgency filled her. Mason snarled, his eyes fixed on the encroaching shadows. He understood. He knew they were coming for her. Her instincts surged. She had to evade them, find another way. She tugged Mason's massive paw, leading him deeper into the labyrinthine depths of the grove, towards the oldest, most forgotten chambers. Each echoing step on the gnarled roots felt like a journey back in time. The air grew heavier, thick with ancient secrets and the faint, sweet scent of dormant magic. She felt a pull, a strange sense of familiarity with these hidden passages. It was as if her bones remembered him, remembered this place. This was more than just escaping. This was a return. The ancient chambers, once a fleeting comfort, twisted into a cruel maze. Sheila and Mason moved deeper, the air growing thick with dust and the scent of decay. But Dean, it seemed, knew these hidden ways even better. He was like a poison seeping through the grove's very core. A low, mocking laugh echoed through the darkness ahead. "Playing hide-and-seek, little Sheila? Don't you remember our games? You always lose." Suddenly, lights flared. Torches held by Dean's wolves materialized from hidden alcoves, blinding them. It was a trap. Dean himself emerged, stepping from a shadowed archway. His eyes, cold as a winter night, fixed on Sheila. His smile was sharp like a wolf's fangs. "Got you," Mason roared. A sound of pure, unadulterated fury that vibrated through the ancient stones. He lunged, a massive dark blur. But Dean was ready. He moved with a speed that shocked Sheila. Not a wolf's brute force, but something almost supernatural, a cunning born of dark magic. He raised a hand and a sickly green light flared from his palm, striking Mason. The beast staggered, a pained whimper tearing from his throat. The raw magic ripped through him. Mason convulsed, his powerful limbs buckling. He hit the stone floor with a sickening thud, his body still except for shallow, ragged breaths. His emerald eyes, usually so bright with fierce life, were dimming, a flicker of awareness fading like a dying ember. Sheila screamed. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't reach him. Dean's wolves, a dozen or more, swarmed her, their hands grasping, pulling. She fought, her instincts surging, clawing, and biting like a cornered animal. But she was only one against many. They dragged her away, pulling her further from Mason towards Dean. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought it might explode. This was it. Her greatest fear, losing him, seeing him helpless. It was a major setback. Dean stood over Sheila, his boot pressing lightly on her pinned arm. His face, once handsome, was now twisted with triumph and a chilling cruelty. He was no older than Mason, yet his eyes held an ancient, malevolent gleam. Mason lay unmoving just yards away, a broken giant. Sheila's breath hitched. She fought against the restraints, her muscles screaming. "Such a pretty little fool," Dean purred, his voice slick as oil. "You almost had him. Almost brought him back." He knelt, his eyes locking onto hers. "But not quite, because you couldn't awaken it, could you? You couldn't awaken your true power. You couldn't remember what truly binds him, what truly breaks him." He paused, letting the words sink in. He wanted her to feel the weight of his power, the despair of her own ignorance. "You weren't just his mate, Sheila," Dean continued, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper meant for her ears alone. "You were his true Alpha Luna, the one destined to complete his power, to mend his soul. Before I stole it all, before I cursed him and suppressed you." A cold, hard knot formed in Sheila's stomach. The truth unraveled. She saw flashes, not full memories, but fleeting images. A sunlit clearing, the warmth of a hand in hers, a promise whispered under a crescent moon. Her chest ached. You did this." She choked out, tears blurring her vision. Rage, hot and blinding, flared through her. He had stolen her life. He had stolen their life. He had stolen her very self, and he wanted her to feel that pain. Oh yes. He leaned closer, his scent cloying, triumphant. "The suppression, the curse on him, and your pretty little mind kept from your birthright. A blank slate. So much easier to lead a pack when its Luna doesn't even remember she is a Luna, doesn't even remember she possesses the power of the primal earth spirit." He laughed, a short, sharp bark of triumph. "Now watch as your beast dies, and you will be mine." He stood, gesturing to his soldiers. "Finish it. End the beast." Sheila screamed, a guttural sound of raw despair. She writhed against her captors, her pleas dying in her throat. Her goal was to save Mason, but she was powerless. Her memories were returning, but it was too late. This was her lowest point. Dean's men, grim-faced, approached Mason. Their blades glinted in the torchlight. Sheila's heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drum beat of terror. She couldn't look away. Every breath was a choked sob. The revelation of her stolen past, her true identity as Mason's Alpha Luna, the keeper of the primal earth spirit's power. It was overwhelming, a tidal wave of grief and betrayal that threatened to drown her. Her head spun. She felt utterly broken, consumed by this devastating truth. She was his true Luna, and she had been ignorant. She had lost 5 years. 5 years of his suffering, 5 years of her own emptiness, and now he would die. Just as the first soldier raised his blade, Mason let out a roar. Not the tormented beast growl from before, but a sound of pure, desperate defiance, a sound of agony. It was a guttural, primal scream that shook the very foundations of the grove. "Mason!" Sheila's mind screamed his name, the name from her fleeting memory now anchoring itself in her rediscovered consciousness. The roar wasn't just sound. It was a wave of pure magic, a surge of Mason's fading power, amplified by the desperate spark of their mate bond. It smashed against her, and her mind exploded. The fragments of memory, the whispers, the fleeting images, they crashed together, shattering the walls around her forgotten past. She saw it all. Her birth, under a rare emerald moon, bathed in the glow of the primal earth spirit. Her designation as the Alpha Luna of the Crest Pack, a protector of the very land. Her quiet, strong spirit, Mason's fierce devotion, their fated mate bond blooming into powerful love. Their wedding, a joyous blur of white and green. His strong, kind smile. Her hand in his. Their first dance. The scent of pine and his unique warmth. Then Dean's betrayal. The flash of dark magic. Mason's scream as he transformed into the tormented beast. Her own mind shattering into a million pieces, her primal power suppressed, leaving her adrift and forgotten, a mere shadow of herself. She collapsed, overwhelmed by the vivid, painful return of her past and the awakening of her true power, the dormant earth spirit coursing through her veins. Tears streamed down her face, a mix of rediscovering profound love and reliving devastating trauma. She was still bound. Mason was still a beast, barely breathing. Dean stood victorious. The goal seemed impossible. Her body trembled, racked by sobs, but beneath the anguish, a fierce, untamed power pulsed, waiting to be unleashed. In the quiet that followed, Sheila lay in the dust, her world a whirlwind of remembered joy and rediscovered pain. She had found her memories, but it felt like she had lost everything else. The man she loved, the life she had, was slipping away. The world spun, a kaleidoscope of agonizing memories and raw, burning love. Sheila lay on the cold stone floor, the taste of dust and tears in her mouth. Dean's cruel laughter echoed around her, but it faded, drowned out by the thunder of her own returning past, the vibrant hum of the primal earth spirit awakening within her. She saw Mason's kind smile, the warmth of his hand in hers. The solemn vows exchanged under a sky dusted with stars. She remembered the day she became his Luna, his queen, the true alpha of the Crest Pack by ancient right. It wasn't a dream. It was real. Then the horror. Dean's betrayal, the flash of dark magic. Mason's primal scream as the curse took hold, twisting his magnificent form and her own mind shattering into a million pieces, leaving her adrift and forgotten. The pain was unbearable, a fresh wound carved into her soul. Yet amidst the agony, a fierce, burning resolve ignited. She wasn't weak. Her suppression hadn't made her useless. It had been a weapon used against her. She understood it all now. She looked at Mason, still a broken beast on the floor, his breath shallow. Dean stood over him, a triumphant sneer twisting his lips. He was about to deliver the final blow. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't break free from her bonds. But then, a thought clear as crystal cut through her despair. Her voice, now resonating with the awakened power of the earth spirit, filled with love and memory, was the anchor. It was the only thing that could reach him because their bond wasn't just physical. It was soul deep, an ancient connection woven into the very fabric of the world. She felt it clear as day. A surge of power, unfamiliar yet exhilarating, coursed through her veins, vibrating through the earth itself. This was the moment. She was Sheila, the Alpha Luna of the Crest Pack, and her awakened power, her love, was the key. She would not let Dean win. She would fight, not with claws and teeth, but with the full force of her remembered past, her unbreakable bond, and the ancient power now flowing through her. Her heart pounded, a battle drum for the storm to come. Dean was a shadow looming over Mason, his hand poised to strike. But then Sheila's voice, though still rough with tears, cut through the air, clear and strong, amplified by the surging earth magic. "Mason!" she cried, his true name ringing out like a bell. It had been years since it was spoken in this grove, by a voice meant to command. "My Alpha, remember me." Dean froze, his head snapping towards her, his eyes narrowing. "Silence, you fool!" he snarled, taking a step towards her. His loyalists moved to silence her, but Sheila ignored them, her gaze fixed on the broken beast. She needed to reach him because her very soul depended on it. "Do you remember the sacred grove?" she pleaded, her voice trembling yet resolute, resonating with the very spirit of the land. "Our vows, Mason, under the emerald moon, the earth spirit threads we wove into our fur. You promised me forever. You said I was your Luna, your Alpha. Our pack needs you." Mason's beastly form began to convulse. A low, guttural moan ripping from his throat. It was a sound of immense struggle, a battle raging within him. The curse was fighting back, the dark magic writhing, but Sheila, now fully connected to the earth's primal energy, didn't stop. "The carvings in the central lodge," she cried, remembering symbols she'd once only seen as ancient art, now understanding them as profound declarations. "You said they represented the bond between Alpha and Luna, the strength of the land. You said I was the sky, Mason, the very heart of the Crest Pack. Dean roared, a sound of pure fury. He lunged for her, abandoning Mason for a moment, desperate to silence her. He knew the power of those memories. He knew what she was doing. He knew what she remembered, what power she was unleashing. "Silence her now!" he shrieked at his men. But his movements were too slow. Sheila felt it clear as day. The tremor through the ground, the deep thrumming in the air. As if summoned by her awakened spirit, the very grove seemed to hum with ancient power. Mason's struggle intensified. He was fighting. He was hearing her. Dean's loyalists, grim-faced and brutish, surged towards Sheila, but she met their gaze, no longer the terrified outcast. Her voice, though strained from crying out Mason's name, was steady, filled with the undeniable power of her awakened Luna spirit. "You serve a false alpha," she declared, her voice ringing with rediscovered authority, amplifying across the grove. "He stole this rank. He cursed your true alpha. He suppressed your Luna." Her words were not just defiance. They were a strategic move meant to sow doubt among Dean's forces, to break their unity, to remind them of the true power she represented. A few of the wolves hesitated, their eyes flickering with uncertainty, sensing the ancient magic in her voice. Dean, enraged, diverted his attention fully to her. He was a master of manipulation, and her challenge to his authority, to his very lie, was unbearable. "She lies," he shrieked. "She's mad with her broken mind." He lunged, a flash of teeth and claws, intending to tear her down himself. But Sheila was ready. Her body moved on instinct, dodging his furious swipe. She was nimble, surprisingly agile, using the ancient trees, gnarled roots, and sacred stones to her advantage. She wasn't fighting like a warrior. She was fighting like a strategist, using her environment, using her wits, fueled by the earth's energy. She pulled a loose section of ancient vine, sending it coiling into Dean's path, momentarily entangling him. This bought Mason crucial seconds. Meanwhile, Mason's struggles intensified. His massive beastly form writhed. A whirlwind of dark fur and tormented muscle. The ground trembled. A strange shimmering light, sickly green, Dean's dark magic, and vibrant emerald, Mason's true spirit, pulsed around him as the curse battled against the returning alpha. Sheila heard the snapping of bone, the tearing of muscle. But it wasn't a sound of agony. It was a sound of change. It was the sound of rebirth. "Fight it, Mason," she screamed, her voice raw, tears streaming down her face. But these were tears of hope, of surging power. "Come back to me. Come back to your Luna." The air crackled with raw magic, a powerful energy that hummed around them, connecting the land, Mason, and Sheila. Dean, recovering, let out a frustrated snarl. Realizing his prey was slipping away, he lunged at Sheila again, his eyes burning with desperate fury, knowing this was his last chance. But then a blinding flash of vibrant emerald light erupted from Mason's struggling form, momentarily engulfing the entire grove. The climax was here. A blinding flash of emerald light erupted from Mason, pushing back the oppressive darkness, pushing back Dean's snarling form. The air crackled with primal power. The ancient grove groaned, then began to mend, its blighted trees slowly regaining their vitality. Sheila shielded her eyes, her heart aching with a desperate, triumphant hope. When the light faded, the beast was gone. In its place stood a man, tall, powerful, and utterly magnificent. His hair, dark as midnight, framed a face etched with the pain of 5 years of torment. But his emerald eyes, those familiar, soul-deep emerald eyes, were clear, intelligent, and filled with a fierce, unwavering love for her. "Sheila," he rasped, his voice raw, but unmistakably human. His true name, spoken with such reverence, was a precious secret that hung in the air. Just like that, he reached out. His hand, no longer a claw, broke the binds on Sheila's wrists with a single sharp snap. Freedom. A profound tremor went through her as the primal earth spirit surged through her, unbound. Dean screamed, a sound of pure, desperate rage. "No, you cannot." I cursed him. He was broken. He lunged for Mason, his own body shifting, a corrupted, weaker wolf form, twisted by his dark magic. But Mason met him. The fight was brutal, a whirlwind of muscle and fury. Mason fought with the coiled power of a king denied, 5 years of torment fueling every blow. His movements were fluid, precise, imbued with a chilling, focused precision. This was the true alpha of the Crest Pack, his spirit unburdened, his strength returned, connected to the land through his Luna. As they clashed, Sheila remembered something more, a hidden weakness. A secret about Dean's dark magic gleaned from a forgotten, suppressed memory. She cried out, her voice resonating with the earth's power. His left shoulder, Mason. That's where he channels the corrupted energy. It was a gamble. It was a true memory. But Mason heard her. He used her words. He feigned a strike to Dean's right, then twisted, slamming his fist into Dean's left shoulder. A shriek of agony ripped from Dean. His corrupted form flickered, then collapsed. His borrowed power, stolen and twisted, withered away, leaving him a whimpering, unconscious human. Mason stood over him, victorious, breathing heavily, but undeniably himself. The central conflict was resolved. The sudden silence in the sacred grove was deafening. It felt heavy, thick with the scent of ozone and the aftermath of battle, now mingling with the sweet, fresh scent of renewed earth. Dean lay unmoving, reduced to a whimpering, unconscious human, his magical power drained. Mason, now fully human, turned to Sheila. His emerald eyes, filled with a raw, overwhelming emotion, drank her in. "My Luna," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion, and pulled her into his arms. The embrace was fierce, desperate, full of years of unspoken longing. Sheila buried her face in his shoulder, inhaling his scent, pine, ozone, and a deep, comforting warmth that was uniquely Mason. Tears, hot and uncontrollable, streamed down her face, a mix of relief, exhaustion, and overwhelming joy. This was the man from her memories. This was her mate. This was her alpha. This was her true pack. Soon after, figures emerged from the newly vibrant grove. Old, grizzled wolves, trembling but with hope in their eyes. Nina, Lex, Samantha, Alexia, Roman, and others. Mason's loyalists, pack members who had hidden themselves away, refusing to acknowledge Dean's stolen authority, had finally returned. They recognized Mason instantly, their eyes widening in disbelief, then flooding with relief. They knelt, tears flowing freely, their voices hoarse with reverence. "My Alpha," Lex whispered, his voice cracking with emotion. "You're back. And our Luna, her power is restored." Mason nodded, his gaze unwavering, acknowledging their loyalty, their suffering. "Secure Dean," he commanded, his voice firm, the sound of a true leader. "He will answer for his treachery. And begin the healing process for the pack. We have much work to do." Then he turned back to Sheila, his hand gently tracing her cheek. "We have much to discuss, my love. 5 years. They were stolen from us. But the primal earth spirit, your power, it's a blessing." Sheila leaned into his touch. She knew it would be a long road, filled with difficult conversations, painful truths, and the immense task of rebuilding. She knew she needed to address her past feelings of inadequacy, the suppression she'd endured. But now Mason looked at her with understanding, with remorse for the pain she'd suffered, and with a love that felt boundless. This was a new beginning, a chance to forge their bond anew, built on respect, on choice, on true partnership, and on the power of the awakened earth spirit within her. They would face it together. Months melted into years, and the Crest Pack territory was no longer a blighted, silent land. Workmen, both human and wolf, bustled through the renovated cabins, replanting trees in the sacred grove, which now vibrated with life, and rekindling ancient hearths. The air hummed with activity, with the scent of fresh pine and blooming life. It wasn't merely a restoration of structures. It was a rebirth of spirit, a resurgence of the ancient magic that flowed through their lands. The river's pack, seeing Dean's defeat and the vibrant resurgence of the Crest Pack, retreated, their ambition quelled by the sheer power of Mason and Sheila's united strength. Sheila moved with quiet confidence, clad in comfortable, practical attire suitable for an alpha Luna, gifted from the newly vibrant pack. Her presence was a constant source of calm and strength, a living embodiment of the earth spirit's healing power. She helped the younger wolves find their true shifts, guided elders through their waning years with natural remedies, and most importantly, taught every wolf in the pack, male and female, how to connect with the primal magic of their shared land, unlocking their own hidden potential. Her memories, once a fractured puzzle, were now whole, a rich tapestry of love and loss, betrayal and triumph. She was Sheila, the Alpha Luna of the Crest Pack, and her past, once a source of shame and perceived weakness, was now her greatest strength. It showed her everything she had overcome, everything she had fought for, and the boundless capacity of her own spirit. She understood now that true strength lay not in rigid control, but in the freedom to choose, to grow, to love, and to draw power from the very earth beneath her feet. The pack thrived under Mason's leadership. He ruled not with the iron fist of a tyrant, but with the measured wisdom of a king who had known the depths of suffering and the sweetness of redemption. His connection to Sheila, their mate bond, was not a chain but a foundation, a shared wellspring of power that nourished the entire pack and revitalized their land. Their reign was not built on fear, but on a love that had defied a powerful curse, memory suppression, and unimaginable betrayal. It was a legend whispered among all the surrounding packs, a testament to the enduring power of a fated bond and an awakened Luna. Mason, now fully the alpha he was meant to be, often found her in the restored sacred grove, where the moon petals bloomed vibrantly, the plant that had first soothed his torment and now flourished under her care. He would pull her close, burying his face in her hair, inhaling her unique scent, wild herbs, fresh earth, and the undeniable magic of his Luna. "My Luna," he'd murmur, the words a blessing. "You saved me. You brought me back. You restored our pack. You are my everything." Years melted into decades. The Crest Pack, under Mason and Sheila's compassionate rule, became more than just a thriving community. They became a cornerstone of werewolf history, a beacon of enduring love and true coexistence between pack and land. Their children, strong and bright-eyed, with inherited emerald eyes and Sheila's quiet strength, played in the very grove where their father had once roamed as a tormented beast, and their mother had clung to the whispers of suppressed power. They were told the tale of Dean's ultimate betrayal, of power stolen and reclaimed, and of a love so profound it broke a curse and rebuilt a kingdom, guided by the awakened Luna. Sheila, now with silver threads woven into her own dark hair, often sat by the central hearth in the lodge, watching Mason. He was still her alpha, still her mate, still the man whose eyes held the entire universe for her. She would sometimes think of the young, scared wolf who believed herself the weakest, the outcast who sought purpose in quiet healing. She remembered the terrifying truth she'd once kept hidden, that she was bound to him, that she had a power beyond measure. She often wondered how she could have been so blind to the love story written in her own soul, the destiny etched into the very land they protected. The love story that had, in the end, saved them both and brought them home, truly awakened. Their bond was not just love. It was a profound connection that had reshaped their world, becoming a legend whispered through generations, an unbreakable tapestry woven from destiny, power, and unwavering choice. If you were swept away by Sheila's story, don't let the story end here. Make sure to give us a like to show your support. Subscribe to our channel for more thrilling werewolf romance audiobooks, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new release.